Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. It's Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining. Let me make sure I've got you unmuted, Michelle. How's it going, Michelle?
Make sure I'm unmuted. Yeah, good. Really great. Excited to share today. So,
yeah,
stories
you have some
to
exciting
tell.
news.
Yeah.
Been all sorts of energies coming through too that people's been talking about. Just I don't know whether it's dreams or energies or feeling up or feeling down. All sorts of chaos.
Definitely been receiving a lot of message and visual information in my dream time almost every night about the energies coming in and how it changes things. A lot of different visual representations of that and the processes. So that theme hasn't let up. It's definitely been escalating. So I'm really excited to share some of that with you guys today.
Well, awesome. Let me share my screen. We'll get the business out of the way here. Share screen. Okay, so we're going to tell everybody about a new website here, but the Schumann, it's not been too crazy lately.
Yeah, just those even, very patterns bursts.
You blast here and there, yeah.
Yeah, but they're definitely in set increments. You can see it does look patterned still, but the those micro bursts have eased up.
Yeah, but we're also still getting this one run 24 here.
It's still a fair bit of activity, and the blasts, there's still quite strong blasts there coming through.
That's interesting. So we had a big earthquake. I wanted to point this out. I'm going to play this video. Let's see if we can mute for a second. I'm going to play this video, and then we'll talk about it when we come back. Make sure we're full screen. Okay, muting.
For those of you just now tuning in one more time, let me explain this. An extremely large earthquake, the largest in months, has struck over in the West Pacific, sandwiched between where our deep earthquakes are. We've been waiting for this, and last night we were talking about this happening today. The reason we were talking about this happening today, as a matter of fact, I can show it to you, I think, if I can just find it. Let's see. BOM, there we go. BOM Australia Magnetopause. Now this is what I use. Let me just quickly explain what you're going to see here on the screen here, if it opens. There we are. Okay, so here we are looking down on Earth from the North Pole, looking down on top of Earth, and these going around Earth are satellites. This is the Magnetopause going around the outside of Earth. Normally it's hovering out here at 10 to 15, sometimes even going out to 20. These are diameters of the Earth, 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20. So this is the invisible barrier, magnetically speaking, which is protecting Earth from charged particles coming from the sun and in space. These are the satellites rotating Earth, and normally this thing's bouncing around out here. Let me make sure you can see all this. Now I'm going to hit play. What you'll see is it gets pressed down in here, all the way in, and it's pretty steady, compressed in right by where the satellites are. It doesn't normally come in that close. I mean, it can, but there's usually pretty heavy solar activity, and from what I understand, there's been some pretty hefty solar activity taking place. So when this happens, when you see this thing start to bounce around, now I'm going to take you to yesterday, to the 13th. See how far out it is? Now watch what happens. The 13th going into the 14th. Again, we're looking down on Earth from the north. Look at it bouncing around like that. When you start to see it bouncing around like that, and then you see it get compressed all the way down in, there's a huge amount of electromagnetic energy involved with this, guys. Unfathomable amounts. And it gets taken down to the core of the Earth. Now, the core of the Earth, it gets into what's at the core of the Earth? Well, I can tell you, it's not a solid ball of metal. That was an old 18th century fairy tale, apparently. And we could get into what's at the core, but I don't want to get into that now. I can tell you that there's a disturbance that happens that then translates up through the magma, and we see an increase in earthquake activity over a short period of time, over the course of days. So solar disturbance happens. Within a day, we start to see a response, seismically speaking, and within a few days, we have extremely large earthquakes. And here we are, a couple days in, not even, 36 hours in, and we are sitting here with a 7.5. Now, if this carries on, there may be more. There may be more large earthquake activity, but first, it will be preceded, most likely, by new deep earthquakes. These deep earthquakes, these multiple deep 4s and 5s, are our signifiers. They are our warning sign that something's getting ready to happen that's larger. Like many people lifting up on the underside of something. The more of them you see, the more you know there's going to be a lift. Well, these aren't people lifting. This is Mother Nature lifting up from underneath. But what's underneath? Well, the magma, of course. Magma goes down into what's called the asthenosphere, which is just a geologist's word to describe the semi-melted magma below the plate. And that's where the deep earthquakes are coming from. But what's causing that? Well, that gets into what's down below that, and that gets into the mantle and into the core. But another video for that discussion, one more time in extremely long.
All right, so that is that. I did want to bring them up because Dutchsinse, as far as being a website that I enjoy looking to and that you guys can check out, because we had an earthquake here in Tulsa and I didn't know Dutchsinse at the time, and when I looked at that date and went back, he had actually forecasted the earthquake we had here. So if you're in, I'm not really in a seismic zone. Most of what's happening around here is like the fracking operations, but he called it like a day or two ahead. I think it might have been the day before, but he said we were due for one, and he's extremely accurate with it. So if you live in a seismic zone, I would say keep an eye out, because this guy, he's figured it out. His
he
even
forecasting
explains.
is great, and he really explains the flow of things. So, So we talk about Mr.
MBB all the time, but that's another great resource, especially if you live somewhere where...
And a fun site to play with it and interact with and listen to. It's a great site. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did leave that, the website that he went to, the bom.gov.au. I put that link down below as well. So if you guys want to check out that and see the Magnetopause and that animation, you can go check that out yourself. Perfect.
And which, might be an interesting thing to watch starting tomorrow. Yeah. So we have a big CME blast coming in, big blast of plasma we're going to be getting. So
yeah, that's what Patty was just saying. We got another big one on the way, and so it can stir up those Earth's innards, if you will.
Yeah, so definitely makes for a more interesting time to observe the different sites and information sources that we talk about. That you Great can go check out there, the space weather and all those different things going on, and just noting what you experience. A heightened sense of a lot of different things, I imagine. So we'll see. Yeah, the effects of that could be very individual as well, but interesting to learn how those things affect you, and how sometimes they're different at different times. Different blasts can make you feel different ways, and observing how it changes you. Noticing the space weather that goes along with it.
Last year you had the symptom of these sort of tingles that kind of went up to your neck and into the back of your head or whatever, and then you were talking about them, and then I got them earlier this year. Someone else just asked me about them. I'm like, that's so weird. What do you think it is? You think it's just
stimulation
stuff?
I think it's stimulation from the frequencies. That's what I'm really learning. That's part of the thing I'm excited to talk to you about today, is understanding how these frequencies that come in, this increase of frequencies, stimulating our physical and our energy body, or our etheric body, and it's stimulating all of those things and activating us in different ways. Our bodies are even somewhat morphing with these changes. So there's a lot of sensations that go along with that. But, it's to me like new circuits being forged, new pathways of expansion of feeling and experiencing these energies and frequencies. We're tuning in as conduits more and more and more. So it's more wires, more connections, more things.
So you think this is directly related related to the DNA upgrades that we're receiving?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, that's what I
absolutely.
was feeling too.
Absolutely. As that gets, I mean, the DNA is just the initial, template, right? And as that is firing and coming along these, junk strands that are now getting activated, which is activated, um, and they're vibrating, they vibrate at a higher frequency. And that in itself, I think is, and what I keep getting shown in the dreams as well, is it's activating other things within us that we haven't used before, like dormant senses, dormant perceptions or senses or abilities per se. But when I
Right.
say abilities, it sounds kind of mystical, but you don't consider your eardrums an
Right.
ability, but hearing as an ability. And I'm seeing that there's other aspects within us that are getting turned on. And with that, Archer, he's doing okay.
Archer, come over here and say hi.
Stop it. He's looking sheepish. You know this is a serious conversation. He's trying to lighten the mood. Come on now. That's enough. Go lie down. She's got to get involved. Sorry, guys. Kind of hard to be serious with squeaking in the background. So where was I?
We're laughing and we wouldn't have been. So hey,
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
It's his thing. Yeah. So where was I? So yeah, activating these abilities as these things come online.
It's okay.
Yeah, it I think is turning on these other things within us, but as well, it's just channeling all this energy and this frequencies, and I think actually feeling the physical sensations of it as well too, and how it's coursing through our veins, literally.
Okay, so you had a new chapter. This is what I would call like a paradigm shifting activity or experience, and I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to tell you. I was like, I'd save this.
And Sherry's gonna love this because she's into this kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I had an out of body experience. So not necessarily my first, but the first definitely experience this way, and a very physical. I've heard other people talk about that too. This like a vacuum popping sound. So
where you were like sucked out of your body or something?
well, kind of. So okay, so every day, like I told you, I've been doing the frequencies and the binary beats and meditations every single day. But I've been really to listen to the frequencies, gamma frequencies in particular, ones that are in higher harmonic ranges, right? Not the alpha or the beta frequencies, but above 100 hertz anyways. So I've been doing that every single day, quite regularly now for a while. And I do find that it stimulates my dream state quite a bit. And it has increased the activation level, the sensation of energy throughout my body. I'm very aware of the oscillation of frequencies within myself now.
Mm-hmm.
And without even listening, so even waking up in the morning from having really active dreaming and coming out of it and feeling like this oscillation of energy, especially through the head, especially like we always talk about this back area here, which I think is really important to this process. Mm-hmm. In what is getting affected by these frequencies. So it's stimulating our abilities, our visual abilities, I think, within our minds, our perception abilities and our attention abilities. And this is one of the biggest things that I think is getting understated about what abundance is and what is changing with abundance. It's not, abundant things, it's abundant attention. And it means far more than we realize in how we perceive our whole reality. So I've been back to Stray. I've been listening to these frequencies every day. So I do a self hypnosis process. So I'll either listen to a hypnosis session and then do meditation with the frequencies after, or I'll just go straight to it with my own self meditation process and remain in a deep meditative sort of hypnotic trance state with the so that's what I was doing. And what happened was at a certain point, I crossed over to sort of that dreamlike quality reality, but still in full awareness. And I was so aware again of this vibration of the frequencies that listening to the binary really seems to accelerate. So even though I'm listening to it in my head, I can feel it through my entire body. And what was happening was I became acutely aware of my own frequency, my own vibration, and the sensation of that vibration, and how it was a separate entity from my physical form. It instantly clicked as a very real thing. And when I realized that, I was conscious, I was lucid. I was completely lucid in what state I was in and what was going on. And okay, I can pull myself at this point, I can just do this. Oh, this is how I just do this. And that's when it literally went and I popped myself out of my body and into my room, like standing right beside my bed. And I knew I was in my room. I was very aware that it was in my room. I was very aware of what I had just done, that I had popped myself out of my body, that I was sort of astral traveling or out of body, how real everything was. It was my room. And I thought to myself, see now, if I walk across to the door and try to put my hand on the doorknob, the doorknob will just go right through my hand because I'm not in my physical form. So I went to my door and I proceeded to do this. And sure enough, the doorknob went, my hand was going through the doorknob, but I hadn't even finished that process. And I think it being a door, I essentially was portaling again because it immediately went again. And it's like this suction, with this pop at the end. Mm-hmm. This is where it gets really interesting. I did not pop into one reality consciousness experienced. I popped into 3 at the same time.
Oh, wow.
The first was completely spatial awareness. Okay. I was not visually experiencing my environment. It was not visual observation. If anything, I just kind of saw yellow. But there was an understanding of spatial awareness within myself that I was seeing that I was still in the room. So I think an aspect of myself was still in the room, in my room. But I was so aware of that vibration, holding what had got me and pulled me out of there. I was still maintaining that awareness of my vibration and movement, and was aware, instantly aware, the spatial awareness, like an X-ray, like scan. My mind was perceiving my environment, the walls, the desk, the things. I was seeing it, but not with my eyes. I was in tune with the vibration of myself and my environment in a way that I was playing with moving myself around. So this is how you do it. And recognizing the sensation of what I was doing, like to lift and raise myself or move around and play with and feel that sensation. So I maintained lucidity in that spatial awareness state and moving around with the sensation of this is what it feels like, and having an understanding of that awareness and moving myself around in that way through vibration, through my vibrational body in my environment. Second reality was completely visual. Like over the top visual. So it would be like having focused detail, and this is where, typically if you're looking at a picture of something, but you want to focus in, we in our 3D reality, we have to focus in on that one thing if we want to see more detail or register more information about that
Mm-hmm.
specific object. Then we have to choose to omit the surroundings, and we laser focus and focus in on that aspect that we want to see the detail of. So this is, imagine you don't have to do that. You don't have to admit everything else. This is, again, abundant attention, because you can focus with the same, even more so, with that kind of detail and intensity on not one thing, but everything all at once.
Mm.
So the other thing that was happening, so I mean, I was looking at the sky, but initially what was going on in that visual representation, it was a multitude of things all at once. And what was interesting first was the energy moving around. Everything was moving. The whole air was moving, and the colors to it, and it was like boiling and bubbling. Not that it was hot, but it was just
Right.
alive and moving, right? And I'm noticing all these details to the movement of the air around me, but at the same time there's all these details to the sky and changes in the sky and colors and different things going on with that, and really taking this all in at once. Again, more colors than we have here, more details than we see now, all at once. The third awareness was where I was conversing and relating information to another, or my higher self, or being like, typically what do Travis and I call it, where you're kind of giving the report, right? you're
Right.
So I'm taking the observations from the first scenario and the second scenario, and I'm having my own correspondence within each of those scenarios as I'm doing it, sort of internal dialogue, right? In each of those scenarios. But then on the side, I'm having an external dialogue with another consciousness regarding what it is I'm seeing and experiencing in those other two awarenesses, what I'm aware of, what I'm communicating.
Do you remember any of that conversation?
Basically, just, it was a lot of affirmation as far as what I was seeing and what I was interpreting,
Mm-hmm.
that I was interpreting what I was seeing correctly. Here he goes again. So it was just kind of confirmation. It was me reiterating what I was experiencing, seeing, and how I was interpreting that, and basically kind of receiving this confirmation. I didn't seem to require to be told what was going on. It was me really relating, or sort of giving that report, and it being confirmed, right?
Wow.
And I mean, that to me, that's kind of more my higher self that I'm communicating with myself at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like. So now these three things sound abstract. They sound like separate experiences. But what I realized is they were each showing me a separate sort of ability, right? An activation. One was a spatial awareness, one was a deep visual awareness, and the third was a consciousness awareness. And again, being able to translate to other consciousness, conversations or awareness, internal communications, yet also having an overlay of consciousness on top of that as well.
Right.
It's like three conversations going on at the same time. How can you have your attention on three different things at the same time? This is, again, it all comes down to abundant awareness, unlimited attention. This is what the real abundance is. It can be misleading that we've been in this 3D world for so long that we think abundance is having all of these things. There's a switch over in perspective. What you have to realize, that I think this abundance is about, yes, it's about abundant love, but it's abundant experience because you have unlimited amount of attention, an unlimited amount of focus.
And that
that
simply isn't the case yet.
it simply isn't the case, because it's like, how can you have three things going on at the same time? How can you? Because we cannot perceive in that way, so how could you the things that sound whimsical to us in this process, when a lot of us have gotten visions over the last couple years, and
Yeah.
some of these things sound fanciful as far as these abilities or superhuman powers. They may be perceived as superhuman powers. But the fact is there are gamma frequencies coming into our system in huge amounts never experienced before. It's stimulating and affecting an area of our brain that allows for abundant attention. This is studies being done by Buddhist monks. Their state of mind and deep awareness is in a gamma frequency, right? And because then you just know you're able to tap in to an unlimited amount of information. Right now, we go about our 3D experience, and basically the amount of input that our system, through all our senses, through all our being, takes in is absolutely enormous. But what we actually use, or our brain or our system allows us to only have use of, because of limited attention span, because of that being limited, is a very finite amount. But if you as a system were able to process at a higher frequency, have the capacity to process information on multiple levels in multiple ways all at once, and not be exhausted by it, that's how you function, then you would literally be able to manipulate your environment in ways that you cannot now. That's how you can move things. That's how could I move myself around in
Right, without with the limited attention.
Be blind, and I'm moving myself around. How can you do that? Well, I was very aware of that process. I understood that process, and because I was in that frequency, I was experiencing that frequency. So my brain was able to function in an abundant awareness. And this is what this is showing me, is that's what these frequencies do specifically, and what this abundance can be experienced like. Well, you do want to have control of your mind, because when you get, like, we joke about it, we just did before, squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh, distraction, pretty squirrel.
Exactly, and it's easy to get
Right?
distracted. And you can see how we're going to need an expanded awareness and consciousness to bilocate in some of the other things that, these abilities that's supposed to come online. What I find interesting is we had this chat. I think it was Biker Babe and a few others of us were talking how we're able to multitask better than we've done in the past.
Yes.
And I've been noticing that too, but I've also been noticing it coming and going. Like some days I'll feel really cloudy headed and like I can't take on more, like that ability's gone, or maybe, I don't know,
Fried
the frequencies.
wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then other days I'm like, I'm sending an email while I'm watching a video at 2 times speed, and I'm able to keep up with everything.
Yep.
Where I wouldn't have been able to do that before. So I think it's already increasing. So
It
I can
is,
see
absolutely. The Schumann resonance shows us that.
Yeah.
It shows us that those frequencies are there, and they're coming in exponentially. And we feel, like you talked about, the feelings here. You're feeling the physical stimulations of that energy, getting more vivid dreams, having these experiences, seeing the synchronicities. Seeing the synchronicities. What it is you're, like I said, you take in a vast amount of information. Yeah. You have a conscious awareness of stuff going on. Like they say, moms have eyes in the back of the head. Well, you literally have eyes in the back of your head, but your part of your brain is deciding not to use that information. Right? And it's kind of like the DNA. It's not running on all the strands. But when you're running on all the strands, then you suddenly have the ability, and this is where I see with it, not just with the senses that we have right now, but that because that is a vast amount of information, that there is ability to access. It's turning on a few other senses, like I think like 3 other senses that we don't have use of now. So that will come online and accelerate that whole thing too, it's not just a matter of just seeing and hearing and, tasting, smelling. There's other aspects within ourselves that when the frequency, it is igniting and activating those things
like
too.
a sixth, seventh, and eighth sense then.
Yes.
That'd be really cool. Well,
Yes,
one thing
we can't do 8 cents till we have the ability to take in that vast amount of information.
And utilize
so they're
it, yeah.
working together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One other thing that came to mind that goes right along with this sort of idea of the feeling the frequency and being aware of it as sort of a separate entity, I guess, like from yourself. When I've been having these really strong feelings of nostalgia, which normally come with a smell or a song or something, but they've been coming with just thoughts. So thinking a childhood memory, and then I'm rushed with all this emotion. I've been really acutely aware of how much, not only do we have our own frequency or vibration, but the time period we're in. And when I was overtaken by this nostalgia and I just stopped for a moment and like meditated on it and really felt it, it made me realize how much that particular moment in my life was its own little vibration.
Yes.
It was a resonance of that time period of my life. And I was able to just kind of bask in it for a moment, this childhood nostalgia feeling. It was
That's
really
it. You're
cool.
pulling in that vibration of that experience, the resonance. You're pulling in the resonance of that experience, and their higher experience that in your youth was more in tune with the natural state of being. And that's why it's so magical and mystical and full of possibilities and so full of life and so fondly remembered, because we're still tied in that aspect. So as these washes of frequencies come in, they ignite those resonances within you that you've experienced in reminder. And I think it's tied together. So it's washing through you and bringing that up. But it's a powerful tool then in tune to use, because you're going to gain more and more familiarity. It's a great give and take. You're getting more familiarity with that resonance. So even at the slightest whiff or word within your mind, boom, you can like really empower and bring that right, back into you, and that resonance. And it doesn't even take that much. You don't even have to focus. And before you know it, you're breathing that in throughout your whole day. And those thoughts are coming to you more and more and ignite more of that feeling in. And it like attract like.
Yeah. So you're becoming that frequency match for what we're trying to create here.
That's
and
how we
we're
harmonize.
all doing this, we're harmonizing with one another, and then everything's going to follow, because like attracts like.
And I think, and it's funny, the conversations I've had, with a couple friends and, you are over the last couple of days of like jamming together and harmonizing together and, talking about the great experience that we had, with Travis and Renee and Tyler and Sedona, when we were just all playing on the xylophones and we just harmonized and finding that natural, thing. I think it really represents something, and it's a theme that's come up a couple times again. So, and I definitely feel the urge to do that, to just let the song come out and harmonize. Yeah.
I love that piece of art in the background. Is that new?
Which one?
The purple one and pink, purple and pink. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that's
I gotta finish this. I've been putting off finishing this one for a little while. It's acrylic paint and then marker over top. So I've been trying to push myself to finish. But I think I might have shown you guys this one before. I don't know if you can see the details in there.
Maybe you added some to it, because wow.
Yeah, filling it in. I've got to fill in all these bigger parts. So it'll take a little while.
It's beautiful though.
Yeah, I've been playing with my coloring books again. That's what I'll show you. I just finished these two.
Ooh, very cool. I need a good coloring book.
These are fun. And this one.
Ooh, very cool. Wow.
Yeah. And then now it's this one.
Very nice.
That's nice, yeah. So sometimes I like to think about what I'm doing, and sometimes I don't.
That's where the coloring books come in, huh?
That's where the coloring books come in. Yeah, it's great. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Are you using those colors you got for that, or is that markers?
That's markers. The first two are alcohol markers, and then, well, they're all alcohol. And then these ones, the last one I'm doing is like little fine tip markers. That one's like super detail. So it just depends. I have, markers. I love markers. Lots of markers.
Did you have any pieces from Sedona that you did while you were there?
I don't think I showed you. I did a couple little things. I don't know if I have one on my sketch. I did this one sketch I did out on our first hike at Bell Rock.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, that's just a bit of pencil crayon. I did that on the plane. So,
awesome.
I don't think I have my other book here. So, yeah, I'll do a finished thing. So yeah.
So what do you think?
Pictures.
So do you think this is? Do you think you're going to be able to do this out of body thing more often now that you think?
Like I like to say, do it once, can do it again. I did it once, I can do it again. Yeah, I think so.
Do you feel like you can go through the same doorway that you went through before, or do it the same way? Or
maybe I'll put some more thought into it next time. I'm not sure. I was pretty amazed with how lucid I maintained in what I was doing and my awareness of what I was doing, and knowing exactly what I was. But I'm also I do surrender to being guided. I put a lot into place in my sort of horizontal and my vertical plane in my meditation preemptively beforehand. So I feel quite protected and balanced before I go into any process. It's definitely part of it. So I'm curious to see where it leads. Like, that's why I started really wanting to, like a few weeks ago, listen to the frequencies and report back to you guys. What do I notice? Yeah, I'm definitely noticing things. The dreams do get more vivid. I feel the energy more. My understanding of this process is increasing because I think it stimulates that. And I think that event really shows that too. So yeah, I'm just going to continue with what I'm doing, and I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more interesting experiences, especially with the amount of energy that's coming in. And that's what these experiences are showing me. They're telling me all about it, all about this energy and what it looks like and what it feels like and how it will be experienced in all these different ways. And there's no fear in any of this. I'm not seeing any doom and gloom. It's just all about, for me, like I had event dreams, the years ago or whatever, and quite heavily, but this isn't about any of that. And it's not about a wave. It's not about any of this. It's just literally experiencing the energy coming, the frequencies coming in, and seeing the activations and seeing how it affects people and changes things, and how I will experience it in a very physical and very real way, in different ways. And I know it's to share it with you guys, to be able to let you know. So it's a more familiar thing. It's not, this sort of wishy-washy. We've gotten we've all gotten so much information over the years, and there's a lot of terms, and we get a lot of those terms. But what does it really mean on a practical sense of how we're functioning and how things changes? Abundance is just a big term. Well, abundant what?
Right.
Abundant what? Abundant everything. Well, what does it really mean? And how much that can change your complete perception of your environment, and then your ability in turn to function within that environment, perceive it and mold it and move around it in a way with an enormous amount of ability. That's exciting stuff. And I'm seeing it in a very, very real way. I'm understanding how it works, how it is real, to be able to share, I think, with you guys and say, it is real. It's not wishy-washy. It's not magic. This is really what we're working towards and what you can experience.
It's only magic if you really think about it, because we don't understand it.
That's it.
If we went back 1,000 years with some of the technology we have, we'd seem like magicians,
Of course. Of course. That's, exactly. So, but there's, if once you know the actual method,
right.
The illusion, the illusion is gone. I mean, still magnificent experience, but understanding that method, it certainly releases all fear in this process
Oh yeah.
of what the process here is. It really does. Having a grounded in a physical sense. How will this affect me? What will it do to me? How will I experience this? What will I see? What
Yeah.
will I feel? Right? And that's the abundance of the information that I'm getting in my dreams and through this process. And then also showing, like I said a couple months ago, in how that reality that's experienced within dream is merging into this waking reality. And I see that it's ingratiating in my dream state those abilities of higher function, of abundant awareness. This is how you experience abundant awareness. So by experiencing it in the dream state, it's prepping me for being able to experience that in a waking state, in a waking conscious environment with the frequencies in place to support that. Right?
Yeah.
In the physical way.
So I think really fear, can only hold us back at this point. And when I think about my first out of body experience, it would have been so much better if I had a better understanding of what was even happening to me. Because you get all these weird sensations. You don't know if it's a health thing or what the heck is going on. But you didn't really have that. You didn't get stuck with fear in any kind of way. You knew immediately what was happening, and you're like,
I chose to do it. I did when I was feeling the vibration, and then I was completely, and I think that's really when that frequency really kicked. I mean, it must have really, and I felt like it did click, like the oscillation, the vibration, picking up, and I'm feeling it, and becoming so aware, and then it's like, oh, I can do this, and I chose to do it.
what did
And
you
I
do to
chose
actually
to
pop out? Did you try to raise up? Did you roll out of your body, or what do you remember?
It was. It wasn't, no, because I wasn't thinking about my physical body. I wasn't moving with my physical body. I
Right.
was completely in tune with my vibration, with my energy vibration. My body was not my physical body. My body was my energy vibration. It was, I guess, my light body.
Right.
That's what I was feeling. So it was very easy for me to pull out of or step away from the physical body,
Right.
because I felt them as two separate things, and was able to sort of release that, and then it kind of, that's where it just kind of takes a light. It's like the choice, and then it was like, and there's this pop,
That's
and it
amazing.
does feel like a suction, like there is a vacuum suction feel, but it's very instantaneous with a bit of a pop to the end. And that happened both of those times, and when I walked to the door. And I think it's interesting that it happened at the door, because the door represents a portal. So but yeah, I felt very in control of the whole experience. There was no fear in any of it, and there was a complete awareness of supported throughout it. So
But you still had the vibrating, the sensations that might alarm someone if they didn't realize what was happening, it sounds like.
you know what, I could absolutely
Because that's what got me. I'm like, what the heck is this
process.
vibrating? Yeah, and it
Yeah,
gets so overwhelming. It gets deafening. Just the whole experience gets so deafening. And that's usually, well, either when I'll pop out or I won't remember anything after that. Like I went to sleep. Like it just got so overwhelming that I passed out or something. But
I
that's
think I
sort of
was
where I'm
feeling
at with
so good, like in this I felt really harmonized. Sorry guys, hold on.
it.
Somebody getting their mail across the street. Come here. Oh, come here. You're gonna be difficult.
Is that Archer or Zoe?
That was Zoe. Come say hello, Zoe. Come say. I know. You have to tell me something. Yeah. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you. Somebody's checking their mail. Okay. So, sorry. Sorry, where were we?
No, okay, so oh yeah, the vibrating. You said it would be alarming to someone that didn't realize it, right?
Yeah, but I was, because I put myself in a meditative state. I was in a self-hypnosis state, and in that state I feel very safe, supported, and completely in control of what is going on with my process. And because I do this practice before of harmonizing my chakras, I was feeling really good. You know, I felt balanced, I felt harmonized, and I felt aware, and I felt in control. So I was completely comfortable with what I was doing. Yeah, it wasn't fearful at all. It was like, oh, I can do this. Well, what
Now,
do you
was
know?
this? Let me ask you: was this morning meditation? Like, had you had a full night's sleep and then?
No, my afternoon meditation.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually do about 3 in the afternoon, except when I do our shows. But I usually do about 3 o'clock. I'll do it at least an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes it depends. It depends on how I'm feeling that day, right? And sometimes I'll sleep after. Sometimes I just go in the meditative state. So,
How long would you say it took for you to actually this time, like from the time you started to the time you popped out? Was it a long time to listen to the binaural beats and all that? Is it hard to say?
yeah, the binaurals had stopped, I think. That was kind of what triggered it, actually, come to think of it, because that's what triggered it. Thanks for that reminder. Because so it was an hour-long session that I listened to. So I was really in that state, and then it stopped, but I was still vibrating. So I became acutely aware of my own vibration at that, because it's like that platform had been removed. So then all of a sudden I was like super aware that I was still vibrating. It wasn't just listening to the sounds.
I get that after listening to it. Where your head still goes like this for a while after
But
listening
your
to
whole
it.
my whole body, like
Right.
my even core is going
Right.
whoa, 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 like that. Like I feel
Right.
it all the way down to my feet. Whoa, whoa,
Very
whoa,
cool.
whoa, whoa. So I have that playing, whoa, whoa, you know, and it's got water and birds, and but still has the frequency. Very relaxing. And I'd really tuned into the water in that session, and it had like the running water, and I just was picturing like the water going through and just running through, and it just kept the energy going. And I think really sort of accelerated that feeling and that vibration,
Yeah.
having it run through my whole body and being flowing. So yeah, but that was really what clicked it, was because yeah, the music stopped. The music stopped and the melody kept going. And it was a very physical feeling. So it was like, oh, look at that. I can just do this.
It probably raised your awareness a little bit too, like pulled you to more of a wakeful state when the music or when the sound stopped. You know, just because it kind of got your attention.
Yeah, because I'm
Probably
still
helped.
conscious, because I was in a self-hypnosis. I wasn't
Right.
asleep. I'd done meditation and self-hypnosis. Um, so I'm just like I'm just in the void. I was just in the void. It was completely blank, and it was just vibration. And then I think it was like click, yeah, that fell out, and then I'm still vibrating. And then it was like, oh, I can just go. But my mind was still so grounded.
You
It
got to
was
share that link with us so we can try it out.
Meditative mind. There's lots of different frequency videos. So, but meditative mind has some nice ones. I like that. It mix some different sounds with nature and birds and the frequencies. But there's there's so many different kinds. You just type in binary beats, and there's so many different things to search around. But again, I would impress how much I also use Steve Noble, I have to say. And I'm doing at this point now, in realizing how much it's had a positive effect on this process for me. I'm doing one of his sort of meditations. It's very much hypnosis as well too, though. Meditations, and there's spiritual energy clearings that he does, and I'm doing one of those almost every day now too, because it really is, it's constant clearing and cleaning, and help me in my own defining my own practice as well. Like I said, of sort of placing in the angelic help and balancing chakras on the horizontal and then on the vertical plane, making sure I'm properly connected, harmonized.
Do you
And,
use a specific frequency? that you like?
432 works great, but I do
432?
I do different ones. It
Mm-hmm.
depends,
'Cause I
but
see they have like Om chanting, and so you do mainly like
yeah, you can
sounds of nature or something.
yeah, some of them are just the meditative ones. Now,
Yeah.
do they, and some they're different frequencies. Now, just because they say they're binaural beats and frequencies, some of them could be in the alpha, beta tones. I'm not using those, because those are the lower frequencies. I'm using the gamma frequencies or anything above, anything above 100. So when it's like 432 or anything like that. But I'm not doing the lower hertz. So, but that's what I'm using to sort of accelerate, because that's what I feel like it to me. It's exercising. It's preemptively exercising my brain for receiving these frequencies and energies. It's stimulating it, getting it used to it. It's kind of like doing reps in preparation for the higher frequencies that are coming in. So maybe they aren't so exhausting. I feel more refreshed than exhausted.
Yeah.
Getting that exercise on the brain of stimulating it and helping that process. So when the large blasts do come in, my brain's more comfortable in being able to process them and deal with it and what it feels like. Get used to the sensations yourself. Yeah. So
That's
I would
interesting.
recommend.
So I'll try some of those out. You said the other one was Steve Noble,
Steve Noble. Yeah, I've let you guys know about him a few times.
and he's got the guided meditation, or
He's got guided meditations, and he works quite specifically with different energies. And he does affirmations, and he also has like longer sort of 45 or 35 to 55-minute different sessions as well, where he'll work with different angelic energy or cleansing. You know what? So you're gonna like some, you're not gonna like them, but um, it'll definitely appeal to a lot of you out there if you haven't found them yet, or you're new to this process. Maybe you find meditation difficult. Maybe you can't afford spiritual healing, like to go to a spiritual healer. It's a lot of spiritual healing work that he does in sessions. So if you can't go to someone specifically, I think that he's done an amazing job at providing a lot of meditations there with great healing. And
Karen Wynn
building that
agrees.
meditative connection and building the connection to angelic energies and what they feel like, and building a familiarity with them and what energy feels like. So some of them you go in and you experience, I experience like, wow, different energies. Sometimes I go in and it's like, there I go through a door and then boom, I don't remember anything till like the session's done. And you're like, what happened? Right.
Wow.
But it's well over a year, probably a year and a half, I've been doing his meditations, and it's a great tool. It really
Yeah,
is.
it looks like you sent me one 3 months ago.
Oh yeah,
Energetic imprint removal, transmission clearing. That's the one I saw
yeah.
last time.
Because these visualization tools, they work. Tapping into this energy, asking for this energy, it all works. And by doing these things, it can really help build your faith in the process and your understanding of the process, and bring it into your daily life as a real thing. Not just a dream or sort of this, loosey goosey vision or what. No, it really solidifies everything in your experience of what these energies are and how they affect us.
Very cool. So yeah, I'm going to definitely start doing that. Have you noticed anything since your Sedona trip? Any long term, long lasting? Well, of course the relationships. That's definitely
No,
one
I
of
did.
them.
I definitely an energy change shift while I was there. An expansion with the heart, and yeah, even just talking about it, a real expansion opened up with the heart and energy. I think being in Sedona at that time when we were receiving quite a bit of frequencies over that whole duration that I was away, like from the day I left. I really felt like I carried that energy home. That it was a really important part of the process, um, in so many ways,
Yeah.
as far as bringing that energy back, as far as making those connections. It makes everything a more real thing. But a real expansion with this. Still feel somewhat in a holding pattern at this point
Yeah.
of a bit of anticipation again, which I'm certainly much more relaxed about. But I release expectations, but at the same time, you have to sort of take note when you're getting a lot of information as far as
Yeah.
accelerated changes or types of changes. So, I don't, I hope on it, like my happiness on things happening at a certain time or anything. But at the same time, it's like, well, gotta say, there's a lot going on right now, and I'm really interested to see how it's going to continue to change. And I think even the information that I've been bringing in over the last year and getting a clear understanding of what this process means and how it actually affects us and changes our perception of our reality is becoming a very real thing that I hope I'm able to translate to you guys as well, so you can see this picture. Yeah,
Oh
and be
yeah.
more comfortable when the frequencies do come in.
Yeah, because we're all getting it at different times and
Hmm.
experiencing it different ways. One of the things in Sedona, not only just connecting up with other people, I felt that was really important, but reconnecting with nature in a way like I hadn't before. Like I have a great appreciation for
Yeah.
nature, but I came away from Sedona with an even deeper appreciation, and then even realized I was even kind of convicted a little bit about just feeling like I'm not from here and I just really don't want to be here. I spent so many years like that, that sort of you kind of have this love-hate relationship with Earth. I mean, you see the beauty in it, but at the same time you're like, yeah, this doesn't feel like home. I want to get out of here. And, you're kind of sending those negative waves at the Earth when you feel like that. You're like, I don't like you. I'd rather not be here. So I've had to really bring my own feelings into check and realize that, this lifetime I'm here. I need to love my planet. This is my planet. It's the only one I've known in this
Hmm.
lifetime. And to really have a deeper, greater appreciation for the planet itself. Because a lot of times, if you don't feel like this is home, you won't be sending it love like you should. So that's just something that I've been growing
I
in
have
my
to say,
love.
I can't agree with you more about Sedona actually putting that back in the heart. And I think it
Yeah,
was part of the experience that I had on the Saturday with this overwhelming feeling of feeling blessed. And I think it was partly that environment, being back in that nature and that surroundings, remembering just the smell of the life. And that's part of that enthusiasm as a kid. I spent tons of time camping and and oh, just
yeah,
want to sink my teeth back into life like that again,
yeah,
and experiencing that. And it definitely revived that and rejuvenated that. Like I want to be out there camping more. I want to be, yeah, exploring the woods and the beaches and the rivers and all of it, and feeling grounded and connected to it. So thank
yeah.
goodness it's spring right now.
Yeah, or just laying in the grass and watching the clouds go by,
Yeah.
like a little,
Because even
like a
that's
kid.
been inspiring. Even just getting a whiff of the air and like the fresh cut grass now, and just like,
Hmm.
and the warmth and the breeze. And it's like, it definitely brings in that nostalgia feeling of being a child again. This time of
Absolutely.
year was like, always just my favorite. And just, yeah, it
That's
just
the thing.
brings that enthusiasm back.
I think people that live in sort of more neutral climates, or where closer to the equator, where it doesn't change a whole lot during the year, like Florida, it's always nice, and you don't really have. I think you have a greater appreciation when you have not only the seasons, that you can be appreciative that the cold has moved out and the warm's moving in, or that the hot's moving out and it's finally getting cool again, and you've got this constant change. But
Hmm.
even the nostalgia that comes along with that, because with the changes of the seasons, you get those feelings that
You do.
for your whole life, though, like that
Yeah.
feeling of
And they're
going back to
very specific
school.
to
And
each season.
yeah, like
They
fall is
really
sort of that
are.
going back to school feeling. And,
And you tie those to the cycles and circles in life, and
yeah,
death and rebirth and regeneration and regrowth,
yeah,
and um yeah, and it creates depth of meaning to your whole life.
yeah.
And that's what I do appreciate, the four separate seasons. But man, am I glad to get to the summer. you know
But you're think of how much more happy you are,
But it
when it's
is. But
summer,
then, I look at the times too, where the different aspects of the holiday seasons and the changing colors of the leaves and how beautiful that smell is, and snowballs and how beautiful that is. Often at the end of the summer, it's so hot and everything's so dry, and you're just done with that. And as well too. Unless I have a pool. If I have a pool, I'm never done. Never done with it. So, yeah, but I do appreciate those aspects. And if I even look at my dreams, my dreams reflect that. I have dreams in all seasons. I
Yeah,
experience dreams in all seasons. skiing and, you know, like snow and rain and
Mm-hmm.
all those things go on in my dream world that I'm so familiar with.
Yeah.
And I can focus in, just like we said, those aspects, like you focus in on that resonance of experiencing those things and those scenarios and those places, like pulling in those resonance. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just becoming more and more alive in the
Yeah.
heart, Shane. That's what I'm
Yeah.
really feeling. It's breathing a life of its own, and we're just keep breathing it in and going, oh, I know that smell. Oh, I know that smell.
Yeah.
And it's filling our heart up, you know, and yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And I want to encourage you guys that, you know, when you come across a synchronicity, to take a moment and take that deep breath and really breathe in that feeling of connectedness, because I realize that you're not the only one getting the synchronicity when you get it. Because I'll get a text, you know, I'm like, I saw it too, you know, and it's like, that's with people I know. So if you think about everyone across your time zone and 12 hours away,
Yeah.
that's getting it. And it's like, if we can all sort of unite in those moments, take a deep breath and connect and love and light and all of that. Or if we get triggered, or, you know, just periodically throughout the day, if you take note of the springtime feeling and it feels good, really take a moment and really enjoy it, you know, even if it's for 5 or 10 seconds. Take a few deep breaths, enjoy it, and really like project that out, because I think it really does help change the world. It really does.
Each breath that we're, you know what, you think about it, we're filling this space with each breath we breathe out, you know, and nature takes in and recycles the air that we expel, but we're breathing that back out into our reality.
Yeah.
The breath is so important in this process, and meditation and, you know, all of those practices really do make a huge difference on your ability to breathe in your environment and breathe life into your environment, and be aware of each breath that you take, and with that abundant awareness kicking in, that breath just gets bigger and bigger. You know, and the way that you can experience the perceptions of this life are just going to be changing, I think, in really exciting ways.
Well, you got me all excited about it, trying to do this whole OBE thing again, because that sounds awesome. It sounds like there's so much more we can do if we can learn to navigate that. I mean, think about how many people are like, I just want to get out of here, I want to do this, and we have all this available to us, but we don't know how to do it. But I think it's just like anything, practice.
I would suggest don't be focused on the OBE as a means to an end. Again, that was what I want to stress is that OBE, we're just so drawn or familiar with that term. That's really cool. I would stress that what I experienced in the second stage of that is far more important. And it is about being able to function in an abundant awareness, abundant attention. So by putting yourself in that meditative state, and letting those frequencies do the work, let the results speak for each individual and how you're activated. Right. So I don't want to see you sort of setting yourself up like, oh, I want to have the OBE, so I'm going to listen to the frequencies. And then you have this expectation in your mind the whole time that you're working towards an OBE. I think that will hinder. So just about, you're trying to harmonize yourself or tuning, and you're trying to tune into that vibration, and just tune into the vibration and let the experience happen of sensory feeling the vibration, become tuned into feeling the energy, and then watch what flowers from that.
And because it almost sounds like, you know, Tom Campbell with his my theory of everything, my big toe, he calls it. He talks about being able to do that. Like somebody came to him and asked about a sick mom or whatever, and Tom Campbell was able to sort of go into the state that sounds like where you were, you know, and you're out of body, but just trigger it and go and like look at her like on the inside and see what's wrong with her health-wise, and see what he's talking about, like while he's in the middle of a conversation. So you can actually get to the point where you can project and do things like that. I mean, he was quite literally bilocating at that moment and looking at her health and pulling back real-time information.
Talk about multitasking. Talk about multitasking.
Right. So it's all connected, I think.
This is where you have to realize it's connected. This is
Yeah.
not a wishy-washy thing. That's what abundant attention, having unlimited as opposed to limited attention span. That's the difference. That is exactly their perfect example of the difference in experiencing reality, where you have an unlimited resource
Mm-hmm.
in your ability to perceive.
Mm-hmm. And taking it a step further, you know, when like a mother knows her child is in danger or something's wrong, she gets this feeling, and
Knowing.
then, yeah, she's got to pick up the phone and call. I mean, we have this ability to just go there immediately in our mind
Yeah.
and check on her or see what's going on or whatever.
Well, that's the first experience with it where it was not visual, it was just spatial awareness. That was a
Yeah.
really I hadn't experienced that before, and that was a very interesting lesson in as far as literally how we feel our environment, how we see our environment through feeling our environment with this vibration.
Yeah.
Like you could literally see I could see whatever I wanted because I wasn't seeing with my eyes. It really is a different way of being. So I have a much clearer understanding now after that experience of what he was doing, and being able to do something like that, and
Right.
how he would perceive that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like all he knew was the guy. He didn't even know the lady. So I mean, it seems like we live in a reality where you're like, well, I've got to have their address or their phone number, what's their full name and social security number. You have to have all this stuff to locate somebody, but it wasn't like that. He's simply talking to this guy. The guy starts talking about his mom. He's able to go to the mom, didn't have her name or anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how would you do that?
Yeah.
It's beyond how we even understand reality working. You know.
So what you have to see, I'm just going to leave one more reference before we go, just to put it in perspective, because like I said, with the third reality, I was talking to I believe it's my higher self. I'm communicating with my higher self. Why am I communicating with my higher self?
Right.
Because that perspective is up here, right? And it is looking down on everything, the grid, like visually.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you can see it, so it's able to source out all these connections from this higher perspective. So by having the unlimited awareness, you're able to tap into your higher self-awareness, which
Right.
sees things and sees all the connections, sees the web, sees how everything is connected, and can just follow the lines, go where it wants, and discern the information that it wants to know in quantum way, instantaneously.
Yeah.
So it's just that you're tapping into the higher self that has access to all of this information.
And it's not confined by time and space like we are.
No, or the limits of your ability to perceive, how much you can perceive in your reality at one
Which
time.
is why we should trust. I mean, once
That's
you
right.
realize this is a benevolent force that loves you and wants the best for you, then you can give it complete trust because you know, like I know, like it's gotten me to where I am right now. But you also know that it's got the greater perspective of seeing everything. You know,
It's you.
it's you. Yeah, it's you.
It's you.
With a better perspective,
It's
though.
right. It's right. You just have to go,
Yeah.
into
I do
your
feel
heart.
like that. Yeah, like we're a fractal of this greater knowledge.
Yeah,
So
it
the
just
same thing, but
or well, it's just, you know what? Even if we don't concern about, well, what is this? Just understand that this higher aspect of ourselves, just has a higher perception, is able to see this entire thing laid out before it. So it doesn't have to go through all the connections. It can just look down and go, oh, that's that, and that's that. So we're just tapping into that directly.
but at the same time, we're like the boots on the ground, so we need to work together, right?
Yeah. And you know what? And I think tuning into understanding how the frequencies work and getting familiar within your body to what frequencies feel like within you, what energy feels like within you, and how to move and experience your energy and get comfortable with that is really what you can boots on the ground do to help, this process along, and your ability to feel and understand the energies and taking them in. And this process at 4:33, she said, yes.
Yeah, it's 3:33 for me.
Yeah.
Great segue into we've been over an hour here. I guess we can wrap it up. Is there anything else that you want to discuss this week?
I think that was good. It was a good story.
A lot to take in.
Yeah,
It was a lot to take
I
in.
hope I got I got the message across, and
Yeah, I hope you can play with it this week and come
I
back
will
and let us know
continue
if
to
you're
do
able to
so. And yeah, I'll continue to let you know
your out
the
of body
results.
explorations.
I think this weekend will be interesting with the energies coming in. So, we'll definitely, or not this weekend, actually tomorrow, the 15th, it's supposed to start. So we'll see how that goes. I'll keep in touch, and
Yeah.
we'll do a full report again next week, see what's going on. The waves are getting bigger.
Excellent. And the times are getting funner, right?
They
Excellent
are.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. Rocking
Lots
boats
of
don't worry me.
lots of love to you guys in the chat. Thanks for being here, and you guys watching later on. Lots of love and light. Thanks for being here,
Thanks,
Michelle, as
guys.
always.
And email me if you guys need any help in your process and just being newbies and don't have anybody to talk to you about your experiences. I definitely understand what that is like. I'm not looking for anything from it. Don't need any money from anybody. If you I'm just here to help. So feel free to email me any of your experiences you want to share.
Especially dreams. We love
Especially
dreams.
dreams. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things I like to do. I had a great chat with Marianne there, was able to do discernment on some of her dreams for her as well there too. So we had a good time. I hope she found it helpful. But it's definitely my forte. Yeah.
Well, thanks, everybody. Peace.
Peace.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.